Perfect. Thank you so much, Kiana. So glad
No
you're here
problem.
today. And thank you, Ed. So Sandra, you are a retired family therapist, and I'd like to ask you, I have a bunch of questions here to ask you, and I'll go over them. But I wanted to ask you first of all, is Nickie's case a typical scenario, if there is even such a thing, of a child abuse case? I know that you have seen, you've probably seen several cases of children being abused, neglected, raped. Is Nickie's case a typical scenario?
Typical in some ways, but the case is very, severe impregnation. I mean, it's really severe.
Uh-huh.
But there are a lot of typical things on the other hand. And when she chose, say, to tell Wallace, and I want to tell her, there are people who would never, who after I talked to, who were victims of domestic violence, some of them had been molested 30 and 20 and 30, 40 years ago, and were just now telling me. So it's very hard for victims to talk about it because they're afraid. They're afraid of how they are going to get reaction from the public. And but what also is typical, most child sexual assaults happen within the family. And we have to be very careful of painting this monster for children.
Right.
And he had an opportunity, and that he took advantage of, and she absolutely had no power. There was he was the only one in the family. And when she did everything she was supposed to do. She spoke out, she talked about it. People weren't believing her, she felt rejected, and that makes a person feel more helpless. It makes them fear more, and it empowers the perpetrator. So some of the things were very typical, and the family being in denial. Many times families, they don't want to talk about it, especially it's harder when they know this person, okay? They don't want to talk about how they feel. They rather be in denial of it many times. And so he was set up to have quite a bit of power in that house. He groomed people outside that he would never do anything like that. Many times perpetrators groom their families too when they want to take advantage of the kids. They can groom them not just with terror and threats, but they can groom them with gifts. They can groom them with special passion. And I think we have to start teaching our kids when they when they are young, even when we start giving them baths, we teach them their parts. Not making a big, making them feel shameful, but they need to know, they don't need to know these little nicknames. They need to know the actual parts of the biological of their body so that they can refer to it and talk, to people. They need to start understanding this, building that awareness. Don't go too fast, has to be age appropriate, but to start building that awareness for them, that this is your body. You have a right to say no. Let me put it, families who are not raping their kids, quote, the non-offending parents, we'll let them know that we bathe you and this is how, and a doctor might do it, but we're in the room. And they need to understand that not just family members, but whether it's a police chief, whether it's a bishop or religious organizations, and I know I'm stepping on toes, but religious organizations and schools have a bad reputation of cover up. Family members cover up in these particular institutions. So I think Nickie, under the circumstance, did everything she could. I'm telling you, her case is so severe. Until you look at her and you're wondering, how is she doing these good things, and how is she able to even be productive as she is, and to have the relationship, because many times your relationships are affected because there's a trust issue involved, and you have been violent. And you're not just talking about molesting, you are talking about violence, you are talking about torture, you are talking about every extreme that is that happened to Nickie, even though there was some type of similarity, but to me, it was torturous, and she had no one to turn to, and she kept talking, and she was able. Some people never tell their children, and not because, but they feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed, and it's very hard for them to talk about.
And what advice, Wallace, I saw your hand, I'm gonna get back to you in just a second. Sandra, what advice would you give to a child who might be listening to this, or to a child who is in a similar situation to Nickie? This child was trapped.
She was absolutely trapped. One of the things you want to, secrets is what keeps families going and makes families unhealthy. The secrets that are kept generation after generation. And one of the things I would tell a child, or advise parents, one, knowing their parts, but also help them to trust what they are feeling, what they are thinking. It's okay to say no. And at the same time, you don't allow people to take pictures, photos of your part, and we got to come in, which I don't know a lot about. Internet needs to be monitored, and showing them how to protect themselves there. But also, this is your body, and you have a right for people not to look, not to touch.
Absolutely.
No matter who they are, even if I like them, even if I love them, no one has that right, not even I do. But at the same time, you want to know who they do trust, because you don't want the kids to be paranoid. Right. You do want to balance that. They may say, I love my uncle, my aunt, my cousins. That's good. What makes you feel that way? I don't mind them hugging me. So you want to allow them to have that freedom. Also, if something happens, we're not going to always prevent it. If something happens, you want them to know, I love you no matter what. You still go to that person you trust, keep talking, keep talking, keep talking.
Keep talking. Okay.
Somebody listens, no matter who it is. And you want that person, even if you're confused, you may not always have the right information. You may think, you may not. Everyone who wants you to sit on their lap and kiss you is not a molester. If you're confused, you don't need to have that burden of having all that responsibility. You talk to someone you trust, and then they can help you with that. If you're wrong, you guys can learn from that and apologize. And if not, you want to keep that child free of being able to discuss it and understand it. But you got to start when they're real young, and you're bathing them. That's the time. But somebody has to be age appropriate, of course. And I would say that it's self-awareness first. If you don't have the awareness, you can't help your child. So you need to educate yourself. And for the little children in here, you have a right to say no, doesn't matter. And we have to stop painting monsters. It can be a family member, it could be your minister, it could be your police chief, or politician, or a star. It doesn't matter. It could be any color, it could be any gender, any age, you see. And you want to tell that to these children here, you also do the same respect. You don't touch other kids or anyone. You don't take pictures. You don't do the same thing. So they'll learn, that this is inappropriate both ways. Yeah, and I would definitely tell the children that.
Thank you. Thank you. Wallace, I know you had your hand up. You wanted to say something?
So it's a couple of points that my beautiful auntie made there. And you talked about, like, different things. And I know for me, like when I first found it out in my processing it, I
Mhm.
became like almost vigilante for anybody anywhere close to the situation.
Mhm.
Right. I think enough time has passed where they won't come arrest me, but I beat up quite a few people that I heard touch people in the wrong way. Like
Uh-huh.
for years, that would be my thing because I'm a boxer, I'm a martial artist, and I was a street fighter. I fought a lot growing up, and I was good at it. And so, if a girl told me somebody touched her the wrong way or raped, you were gonna have to see me. Like it was almost my anger of I can't get him, so I'm gonna get every other one that I can, right? And then
Mhm.
one of the things that I found though was a lot of these predators, once they encounter like a real man or something, they become the biggest cowards in the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
Terrified. Now all of a sudden they don't look like this big monster to the girl or the woman or whoever it is, because you're now seeing them in their truest light. But one of the things you talked about, Auntie, with like kids. So since I became a parent, one of the things that I've always tried to keep in mind is my father and I we have a great relationship now, but we had some rocky years there, right?
Mhm.
In the rocky years, once I could step away from the emotional part of it, it was because I realized it was because he stopped taking the time to get to know me. He
Mhm.
started assuming, okay, well, this is who I was at 17, so this is who Wallace must be. All right. So
Okay.
I said, okay, as a father now myself, I don't want to do that. Right? Because you love your kids and it's easy to assume your kids are great and perfect and awesome and all of these things, or they're horrible and they're bad because you were and whatever else, but they're not you. So you
Mhm.
have to get to know them and have the type of relationship with them where you can talk about anything, right? Like, because for example, some of the people that the kids may trust, like you were mentioning, Auntie, might end up being the person that does something to them at some point. And they got to trust you enough, or they got to have the relationship with you enough where they can feel free talking to you about it, right?
Mhm.
Like I'll give an example. My son is he's the nicest kid I've ever seen. He just loves everybody, like almost too much to me. Like I'm like, ah, son, come on. The happiest, nicest kid I've ever seen. Last year, he's having a lot of fights at school. And I'm like, this is really odd for him, right? This is not him. But and I didn't just go and say, well, my son would never do that. I was like, all right, son, what's going on, man? Like, what's happening? And we have the relationship he told me. And he told me even down to the point where like the kid did this and the kid said something about his mother and did this. But then from this point on, it was my son. I had to be like, oh, he was like, yeah, I didn't feel like I got him good enough, Dad. So I was like, boy, okay, you had like 4 fights. Stop. You made the point. But I love the fact that we have the relationship where he'll even tell me when basically he was in the wrong. Like it started with the other kid being in the wrong and it just transitioned. And I told him, I said, listen, I told you before, if you're defending yourself, I always have your back.
Mhm.
But I don't support you turning into the bully yourself.
Right.
Like we got to draw this line here, right? And we, even when I asked him, I said, why would you do, it was something that he did. And he was just honest. He said, I don't know, Dad. I just felt like doing it. Okay, right? The joking part of me felt like, hey, at least try to lie to me, son. But at the same time, I respected the fact that he was honest enough. He feels comfortable enough with me to say, listen, I was in the wrong here. I know I knew I was going into it, but I felt like doing it anyway because I don't like it, Dad.
Mhm.
We have to get past this thing of again, either assuming our kids are us, and so we're assigning all the stuff that we were doing at their age to them, assuming that they're perfect and they're just 100% ain't whatever it is. We have to develop the relationship with our children where we can talk about anything. Because if you don't, there's a whole world full of various types of predators that will. You know what I mean? And not just all rape or molestation, but let's say, I would say you have a daughter, but as Ed said, you could have a daughter or a son. If you're not talking to them about sex and relationships or whatever else, someone will be. Someone will be trying to take advantage of that. And even if it's not rape or molestation, it might just be somebody that they shouldn't mess with at all,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or gangs. And they're like, I grew up, you know, I grew up around the heavy areas of the gang area, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, it's a very seductive world. You know, if you're a teenager, you're a kid, it doesn't seem like some big monstrous world. It's people who pretend, who gonna have love for you, people who gonna have your back, people gonna make sure that you're safe or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of elements out there where if your children aren't free to talk to you, to be honest with you, and you can have this back and forth with them,
Mm-hmm.
the world is gonna step in where you're not there. Just it's a given. So, you know, that's something that I think, especially in our community, that we really have to work on. Because again, like, and I've totally forgiven my father for those rough years, but they were really rough, and they were really rough because he assumed that I was either him or his older brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conversation we've had since I've been a man. He was like, well, you know, I just knew that I would have been out there. And I was like, well, actually, what you did ran me out there. So I wouldn't have been out there unless we would, you know, until we had this issue. So around any subject, because I know plenty of people who the person they trusted and the person they loved and the person who had always been there for them would then turn out to be their molester, or to be their this person has played the long game and been building this trust and grooming, like you said, you know, this, I would never do this, you know what I mean? And all these things. And so now all of a sudden this person, this child or this young adult is trapped with this person that they've always put on the highest esteem, you know what I mean? On the highest level. And this is the person they trusted or whatever else. So situations can change in a heartbeat because, you know, someone mentioned Bill Cosby. Like, how shocking was that? You know what I mean? He was Bill Cosby. He was the clean comedian. He was Dr. Huxtable. And then you read the court documents and you're like, my God, you know what I mean? There's sometimes monsters wear incredible masks and they play the long game well. Absolutely. So your children have to be secure enough that they can talk to you about anything. You know, whether it be this, that, losing their virginity, considering losing their virginity, whatever it is, they need to be able to talk to you, and we have to create that safe space for them. It's a trust space, because me and again, it wasn't a sexual thing, but my dad and I could have avoided at least 9 years of hard clashes and differences had he just talked to me and found out who I actually was, opposed to assuming I was who he thought I was. So that's it. That's all I want.
Well, I know that Nickie wants to speak, but Nickie, just 2 seconds before, I just want to take this moment to applaud Nickie.
Right.
She has, Nickie, just go on and talk. I'm getting teary-eyed, so. Just go on and talk. Go on and talk, Nickie. You've had your hand up for a while.
I got you. I love that girl. She is so great. I've never met a person so good, and to have her have my back, other than my son. So it's it's a great feeling to have somebody to love you that much. I did see the young lady Angela had her hand up, and she did take her hand down. So Angela, if you would like to speak, now is your time. Would you like to talk now? Can you unmute Angela?
Angela?
Okay, well, Angela's not there, and I'm gonna give my cousin a minute to breathe. So here's where I would like to piggyback on everybody's conversation. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for everybody's output, because there's no wrong or no right. We are learning. This is a community of learning. And this is going to be our first annual event, and we're going to hope we can meet again next year at the same time and the same date, October the 1st. But what I would like to say, as far as talking to our children and our family members, and as well, not just children, there are many people that have already been attacked, like my son said, and like we're finding out here today. But we also have to understand, here's the first thing that you should know. When you have been victimized, the way you start to heal, that's what I want to tell you about right now. Okay, it's telling me that the internet is unstable again, so let's get this out. However, the first thing is to face your truth. Face your truth. See, your story is your truth. Whether it be a child, whether it be an adult, your truth is how you start to heal. You don't start to heal by going necessarily to a doctor per se, or going to a church. You have to go within. You have to go within yourself, and you have to pull yourself to understand that, number one, it was not my fault. Rape is rape. It is a monstrous act, and it is horrible. I don't care how, if it wasn't very violent, or if it was just a little bit, or if it was total beating you up every day and putting hangers in you. Rape is rape. And when you recognize it is rape, then you first got to look at yourself. Like my son said, he wants me to forgive myself. You got to look at yourself and understand, baby, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to be raped. And number two, one of the most important steps that you need to recognize is, what is your weapon of choice? And that is that you deserve self-love. Self-love. You deserve it. You deserve to love yourself. You deserve to have others love you. And love does not sit around and say, I'm gonna knock you out today. I'm gonna beat you in your eye. I'm gonna rape you. I'm gonna touch you in places that's making you uncomfortable, regardless of my age. That's not love. That's not love. And then telling somebody, you made me do this. You're a punk. That's what you are. You're a punk. Now, and don't come to me telling me, oh, I'm sick. I need help. Stats say 9 out of 10 people in the mental hospital can get sane if they simply choose to. Now, 1% of them just totally crazy, but 9 out of 10, if you choose to improve, you can. So don't tell me about, I'm sick. Yeah, hell, I'm sick too. I'm sick too. I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. I'm just gonna be straight with you. And that may not be the best picture to have or to paint, but that's the one I grew up with. And then as an adult, I learned to do it differently, but I never saw it as my fault. I never thought that I didn't deserve love. Now, I taught my son, I was his first coach on fighting, but he's better than I am. He knew when to stop. I didn't. But now that I'm a grown person with 75 people under my belt, I say, thank you, Father. I also say that when you have been violated, whether you are a child or an adult, if there's anything that you believe in a higher power, because I'm not a preacher, I'm not here to talk about religiosity, but I'm saying grab hold to it. Grab hold to that first and pull yourself up to know that you are victorious and that you deserve to be happy. I'm not staying with nobody that makes my life miserable or unhappy. And I don't promote that with anybody. And with children, the poor, they don't have any voices unless you allow them to have a voice and to learn how to use their voice in their home first. Don't put that job on a teacher. Put it in your home first. My grandchildren mean the world to me. But there's no way I would try to push my opinion on them as if every word I say is right. No, they're too intelligent for that. Listen to your children. Listen to your grandchildren. Make sure you hear them, not just with words, but with emotions, with feeling. Don't just brush them off. My son is my friend, but he's not only my friend, he's a hero to me. I never knew about heroes. I raised him. Auntie, I want you to know I raised Wallace with what I thought I wanted in mind from a man, because I never saw a great man. And I believe my son is a great man. I believe Ed Wheat is a great man. And that's what we need in our children's lives today. Okay? So let's move forward. And let's be a group of people that want to win. We need to get rid of these predators. We need to get rid of them. And the best way to do it is to expose them. See, it's like turning when a predator grabs a child off guard or a person off guard. What they want to do is do it fast, 1 minute, 1 second. But if you have the energy and the know-how and the teachings to fight back in any kind of way, if you don't say help, say fire, because people will pay attention when you say fire. Some cities, you say help, people ignore you and keep walking. But if you say fire, stranger, rape, people will pay attention. And if you get them to pay attention for 1 second trying to grab you, you now turn it into 5 minutes. That makes them visible. Okay, that makes them visible. That's what it means to be aware of your surroundings. And I don't know, I need you guys to tell me too on your opinions. How do we get this in the schools? That's what I want you to be thinking about. Maybe another time, maybe not so much right now, but I want you to think about that. How do we get it in the schools? How do we get it in the churches? We need to start promoting that in our children's lives. And if you teach your children how to fight, which is a good thing to me, boxing, martial arts, all those things are my history. But I started as a street fighter. But teach them how to turn it off. You don't want to raise a team of angry people. You want to raise a team of people that are glad to be alive, love their parents, and see their parents as gold. To have good parents, to me, wow, it's worth its weight in gold. So that's what we're trying to do now. That's why we're here today. There's no wrong, there's no right. I would appreciate if you use the chat if you have something to say. Also, I'm opening up for suggestions, because I don't know everything about this. I'm learning. I'm one step at a time. That's what's going to take for all of us, y'all. One step at a time. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Risa, because Risa, now I'm the one teared all up, and I'm going to give you the floor again, okay? Love you, baby. Unmute.
Unmuting me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what I was about to say a while ago when I just wanted to say, Nickie, there was no way for Nickie to have been prepared for the horrible ordeal that she went through and ultimately triumphed over. But she has used and continues to use her experience to educate, protect others. She did her best to protect younger siblings. She told her children and protected them as best she could. And she has counseled abused women and mentored at-risk children. She's written a book, Self-Healing. Can y'all see that? Self-Healing for Sexual Abuse Survivors, Tired of Just Surviving, Time to Thrive. And she has created this platform, the Nickie V. Smith Show. So my next question is, Nickie mentioned bringing this conversation to schools. And so I'd like everybody to weigh in on this. And Wallace, I'm going to start with you because you are a young parent. And how do you feel about this conversation going to schools?
I think it's well, I got to start by saying I apologize. I'm gonna have to jump off after I say this.
Okay.
I actually have to go pick up my baby. So I was like, oh man, okay, it's 2:15, so I gotta run.
You're a responsible parent, do you?
But I think it's very necessary in schools. I don't know how you get it in there yet. And it's honestly, with my son's in the 4th grade, and it's heartbreaking that we have to talk. You know what I mean? He's so innocent. Mm-hmm. And it's scary that we have to have these talks, but we have to have them. Mm-hmm. I remember being in the 5th grade, and they talked about we're going to have a sex education course one day, and all the parents were freaking out back then. You know what I mean? Like, what? Wait a minute, my kids. But you have to. You absolutely have to. I don't know how we do this yet. I don't know how we get it in schools yet, because as Sandra said, it's happening in the schools. The schools are covering it up. Wow. You know what I mean? But it definitely has to be in there, because we've all been children before. And as much as I talked about having that relationship of trusting, that trust, there's some stuff your kids just not going to be comfortable talking to you about. Mm-hmm. I don't care how close you are. Mm-hmm. They'll talk to their peers. They'll talk to a teacher. They'll talk to anybody else but you, because there's this thing. You're their parent, Mm-hmm. Like, while my son is super honest with me right now, he might not be at 13. You know what I mean? He might not tell me everything then. So we have to start creating, age appropriate, of course, but when they're younger, it has to be. I think children need options. They need a network of possible people they can talk to, because, and I don't care, we've talked about enough. My go-to person outside of my parents was my uncle. And now my uncle is one of the people I buried in my head. Mm-hmm. For various reasons, right? But this was the person I trusted the most to go to, and now he's dead to me. So if I hadn't learned to cope with a lot of stuff on my own, and had I not had boxing and art, like theater, kind of saved me. I always tell people art saved my life. Mm-hmm. It gave me other things to focus on. It gave me things so that I'm not just angry and in the streets and hurting people. I always joke and say, you can't do a drive-by if you have a drama tournament the next morning. Mm-hmm. And those were the things but children need these networks of trust, of people that they can talk to, that they can, because again, unfortunately, and it's horrible that this much evil exists in the world, but the person they trust right now could turn out to be the monster later on.
Yeah.
And so they need another level to talk to beyond that.
Mhm.
And so I know, I mean, I wasn't, but had I been in a situation like that, I would have probably talked to somebody in the drama department. Something like that's where I was my most comfortable, my drama trips. And as weird as it sounds, I probably would have told my drama teacher back then.
Mhm.
Like we're still close to this day. And you know what I mean? She's
Mhm.
been retired. She retired after we left. But when I went to New York and the show was off Broadway, she was the first person cheering for me. And I was like, it started in your class,
Mhm.
you know? So I definitely think it's something that should be put in schools early, you know,
Mm.
4th, 5th grade. They should start
Okay.
learning these things because again, if it's happening and the person is building their defense already,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? They're already grooming people to not believe what's going to be said.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I know someone, and again, I'm gonna have to jump off and I apologize for that, but I know someone whose parents went on a crusade of telling everybody that this kid was a liar. This
Oh,
kid is a liar. This kid is a liar. Long before, so by the time anything serious came up, nobody would believe this kid because their father, their parents had already began to tell everybody, oh, he's a liar. They're a liar. They lie about everything. And so that builds this wall. So now here you have this child that's trapped right in the center. They're trapped with their monster, with their predator, and nobody believes them.
Mhm.
And then you start adding on all the other layers of stuff that we've talked about, how they're gonna rally around the predator. They're gonna, you know, tell the victim to shut up. Don't talk about it. Just shut up. They're going to start throwing a bunch of questions around. Well, why would you do this? Why would you? It's horrible. So children are going to need outside of family because I have no problem saying my siblings and my California family, y'all saved me on the concept of family outside of my parents. My California family, you guys, Ed, Reza, Unson, you guys showed me what family's supposed to be. The family I knew before then, I'd pick the family I chose, my friends over them any day of the week because they treated me better. Because they weren't hiding all sorts of stuff or demonizing my mother for being raped. Like that's a hard pill to swallow when you really think about that.
Mhm.
Like, so no, you guys showed me what family was and my siblings. Beyond that, the family I chose means so much more to me than the ones I knew the first half of my life. Right. So we have to have those resources outside of just our family, because some people, unfortunately, can I curse? I'm sorry, I don't even curse in front of my mom, but can I curse?
I think you, as long as you give us the PG cursing, you know, you don't want to put your
Okay.
mom in
Crappy. Some people were born
Facebook
into
jail.
really crappy families. Okay. I'm sure you know what other word I was going to use, but some, you know, blood to me doesn't make you family. It's what's in here. It's how we relate to each other, how we treat each other. Yeah, blood alone doesn't make you family. And one of the things that I do want to say before I go, I always appreciated that my mom did, is she always told me nobody has the right to do anything to you. All right. So, you know, just because they're your auntie or your uncle, that doesn't mean that they just get to tell you everything to do and whatever. And I'll never forget once one of my aunts babysat for me, and she thought I shouldn't have an opinion whatsoever. And I was standing on my opinion because my mother had taught me that I have a voice, I have an opinion. And I didn't agree with what my auntie knew. Like, I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but I was going to stand on my opinion. I love the fact that my son is like, I did it because I wanted to do it, Dad. I did not feel that I got him good enough. I know. I respect him for that, because listen, okay, now we can have the talk now about going too far, being the bully or whatever else, but we have that relationship where he's like, listen, this is what I did. They're not lying on me. I did it. I surely did. And this is why I did it. I respect that. And I learned that from her. You know, that was something that she always made sure that I had a voice. And so, yeah, so thank you. Thank you, Mama. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I'm so sorry I got to jump off, but thank you, thank you, thank you.
We'll see you.
Bye, baby. I love you with all my heart. And thank you for your opinion. And you know what, guys? He blessed me when he told me I didn't even know we were poor. That was so cool. That
No
was
idea.
so cool.
I found
That's
out
good.
my freshman year of college. I was like, what? It was poor. All right.
Cool.
Love you all.
Baby,
Thank
go
you so much.
Love you too.
All right.
Sandra, do you have your hand up?
No, I was waving bye to Wallace.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think he said something very important. He kept using the term, it's respect. If you respect your kids and treat them like individuals and listen to them, they will learn to respect you. You can't go and raise a child and just tell them what to do and tell them, well, I'm your parent and that gives me the right. No, you have to earn it. And as a parent, if you don't take that responsibility to earn it, you don't deserve it. And if you go through that effort, you know, trying to get the word into a school and getting it out to the public, it starts at home. You going and talking to Wallace and raising him that way so that you were aware of what was going on, you having eyes that he didn't see on him to make sure that you were aware of what was going on and protecting him. That is a parent. That is what you're supposed to strive for. I was raised in a single parent home. My wife was raised in a single parent home. The difference is that they said, oh, well, by definition, you are destined to end up in a broken relationship yourself. No, as individuals and the way we were raised, you take that ownership and responsibility. You choose to be the parent that you wanted or wish you had. My mom exposed me to wonderful male role models and protected me in that way so that I got to choose. My father is a composite of all the people that I admire. That is what drives me to be me. And that when Wallace goes and says that a family is not by blood, that is absolutely, blood is like an entry ticket into the family. What you do and how you treat me and mine is what makes you family.
Right.
And you don't need that blood ticket to get in. It's what you do. And if you do it, you're there. If you don't, get the out of my sight.
There you go.
And I don't
There you
care whether you
go.
got blood or not. DNA, whatever, don't prove a thing. You go and look at the DNA test and see how many hundreds of thousands of people you're related to. I've gone and seen people that are KKK members that are DNA related to me. Okay. So it's like, nah, they ain't my family.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
it's like, I got that great little partner that's over here to the side that makes it all worthwhile. My rock.
There you go.
And you
Love you, Ree.
You're mine.
Tammy, we want to hear from our newest game member. Come on, Nigeria, talk to us.
Please say something.
Yeah, okay, I think I was just gonna talk about a scenario I was experienced. Because when you're talking about teaching the kids and letting them know, okay, no one should touch you. So there was a time I was with a family. I don't have kids yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was a family. Okay, the dad was not around and I had to stay with the kids. And when he came in, I'd seen him driving in with his friend. So I knew the father was coming in with his friend. So I didn't bother. But all of a sudden, I heard a loud noise from the girl, that's a little girl. And I came out, I was like, oh, yeah, that was your dad. And I saw the dad and his friend. And then she said the reason she screamed was because the man tried to carry her. And that there is a boundary that, okay, as a man, he is not supposed to carry her on his legs. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. So I feel the attention she called with that screaming was really Well, I feel it was outside. It would have helped a lot if somebody was trying to do something bad to her. So in addition to trying to give them, I think rules like that, because irrespective, she said her dad had told her, irrespective of who it is, family, friend, so long the person is a man, he should not carry you on his laps. And because the man tried to do that, she had to scream. And she's like, so I don't, Mr. Me, I don't allow people touch me. I don't allow men carry me on my legs and boundaries. You don't touch this part. And I was like, oh, okay. So I feel these things are really achievable. And the kids usually tell themselves in school, she's like, I told all my friends, they should not be allowing men to touch them because it is not good. That is said, men should not carry you on their laps. And yeah, so we could start with basic rules like that, talks like that with the kids. And I think from there they build more and they know how to relate with other people. Because at that point, and one thing I appreciated about the father was he did not stop her. When the friend was like, why did your daughter scream like that? Because I tried to carry her. Then the man told his friend, you're a man and she has rules. She did not want you to carry her. That was why she screamed. And he put his friend in that box, like, okay, this is my daughter and she doesn't want you to carry her, so you should not attempt to carry her. And yeah, so I think it works. I think it works giving kids role. I think that's what I want to add for now. Okay, yeah, I was going to add something that happened to me as a child. Yeah, when I was 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. And no, I wasn't raped, but there was okay, it was molestation really, because the guy had to press my breast and everything. And when I got home, I didn't tell. I was coming from school when it happened, and I didn't tell my mom about it. I never told her. Like I didn't tell her for a long time because. And okay, so looking back, I think when I got older, I was like, okay, the reason I didn't tell her was because I was worried I was going to be the victim, and I'm the one people would know. People don't know the guy because if they actually had to bring out the guy, I did not know him. All I knew was his description. He was tall and he was wearing a red shirt. I still remember that. He's tall and he was wearing a red shirt. But I could not bring him out, and I was a victim. And I think I cared more about people not knowing that something like that happened to me. I don't want people to know that that happened to me. I don't want people to know that that happened to me. So I never shared it with my mom until later on, in life. And she was like, you should have told me. You should. So I think the problem I had with my mom was I felt escalated and she was going to tell everybody. And I did not want that to happen. So I think it still comes down to the place of trust, having trust with your kids. So I think if I trusted her enough to know that if I told her, maybe she would have found better solutions. But what I was looking at was the fact that she was going to tell everybody, and I didn't want anybody to know that that happened to me. So I kept it to myself. Very risky. Like she was like, you should have told me that she would probably okay, maybe she would have tried to look for the guy, or at least make sure I did not have to pass through that route. Because every time I had to pass through that route, afterwards, I was always scared. Like I had to run or walk faster than usual because I did not want something like that to happen again. Yeah. So I think that's what I have to say.
Tammy, I want you to understand that that's more common than you know. Most people are very ashamed to talk about it. They feel like it may have been their fault in some kind of way, but it's not. It's not your fault. It's unfortunate that back in, you know, a lot of us didn't know we could talk to our parents. That's why we're here today. We're learning that we should be able to talk to our parents and or find somebody else to talk to. That's what we're doing. We're building a community right now, but it's more common than you think. A lot of people won't tell it for various reasons. Half my family still are in denial, still, and they still blame me for talking. So never stop talking, Tammy. Never stop talking, even on this team. We welcome you. It's a team of 3. It's myself, Risa, and yourself now. And these other people are here as supporters and loving us. I agree with my son. I never had understanding of family like I have with the Johnson side. This is my mother's baby sister, and she is the queen of the Johnson family. I call her that. And I believe that with all my soul, because excuse me, I witnessed since I've been here, and that's been almost 10 years because my grandson is born, how she has nurtured each and every one of these family members.
Absolutely.
However, back in the Smith family, we were battered, beaten. I told everybody, Tammy, and not one soul would believe me. Everybody said I was a liar. I had mental issues. It was a lot of ugliness. Still is, baby. Baby girl. We're going to call you baby girl. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now. You're welcome. And
you
you
know,
guys, I want to say,
there's
yes.
one thing that the one thing you said that really hit me was when you said the shame. And it's one of those things when the family, it is shame that a lot of times just destroys that family. Is the family is it's that black mark. They don't want the rest of the world to know that they've got that black mark there. And it's like Nikki's getting, you know, attacked because she's exposing it, trying to erase it. And it's like, no, 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 nobody else needs to know. We're okay. We survived it. That's not good. What's good is that you eventually were able to go and talk to your mom. And you got the response from your mom that you needed. You know, one of the important things is that your parents are up for your judgment as a child as much as you are being judged by them. That's why I meant about that earning the respect, it goes both ways,
Mhm.
is because just because they're your parent doesn't make them perfect. They have to be held up to your standards as well. You have to
Absolutely.
demand those standards of your parents as well. And if you don't find it there, you find other people that can come up to your standards. And those are the ones that you will lean on. You know,
That's right.
I just think it's wonderful that you managed to go ahead and get through that and survive and keep stepping.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's give her a hand, y'all. Let's give her a hand. Thank you, Ed. That is so positive. Ed is such a positive person. So is Risa. So is Auntie. And so am I. And now we know that you, baby girl, are on our team. We're going to nourish you as much as possible. We're going to pray that your grandwriting turns into gold so that we can help others. That's what this is about, building a community of helping others. And at one point on the Facebook show, I said I wasn't going to put this on the air, but yes, I am. You know why? Because if I choose to hold this as a private meeting, then we're not helping the world. We're not spreading what was said here today. See, and all of us have an opinion. No one person is right. No one person is wrong. We are learning. So yes, I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to put it on YouTube, and we're going to meet annually. This is the first annual Nickie V. Smith Show what do we call this, y'all? Self-healing for sexual abuse survivors, learning how to thrive. See, this is the first annual event. October the 1st, we'll see you in 2023. So let's just get ready for that. We are a growing community. People invest in communities. Let's invest in our families, our communities, okay? We can't just depend on somebody else to save us because they may not do it. You better learn how to save yourself, and you better learn how to seek out people like Ed Wheat, Risa Wheat, yourself. myself, Auntie. Well, Miss Sandra Johnson, she could be your auntie too.
Yeah, we'll share
She
her.
don't mind.
We'll share.
Yeah, Auntie is also an author. I just want you to know, Tammy, she is also an author. And Angela Birdsong, unfortunately we hadn't been able to hear from her, but we do thank God for her coming on today, and all of you guys for coming on. We still have a good few minutes. We have about 20 minutes. So let's let Auntie. Auntie, you got something to say, baby?
Yes, I do. I wanted to remind people this is a worldwide problem.
Mhm.
And children, it's just not here. And I also think it's important that we know, we not just talk to our kids and communicate with them, but we need to know where they're going. We need to know the policies that are put in place
Mhm.
to organizations that our children are part of. We need to know how they are protecting them. We need to do our homework. And make sure policy both locally and nationally that we are part of implementing these things. We also need a family planning. The families, however, who not doing the abuse, but the family, the key people need to put rules in place, how we look, how we dress separate, how we sleep, what do we do when this person comes to town, how we talk about our body parts. We need to put a family plan. In my day, if you didn't sit on a lap, or that was an insult to that relative, whereas now we are teaching, okay, you have a voice, and we need to teach each other. If a child does not want to be hugged or put, you need to respect that, teach them how to do, the same thing.
Mhm.
And the other thing, and I'll stop here, is how we need to understand our males have a different reaction, possibly,
Mhm.
is because sexism reverse there. We teach these boys, you don't express yourself, you don't talk about feelings, you can fight off your attack, you must be tough, you must, you don't talk about your pain. So what we do, we set this child up to be even more isolated.
Mhm.
If he is abused, say, as a teenager by an older woman, he is taught that he's lucky.
Mhm.
As opposed to taught you have been manipulated, overpowered, controlled, and you are still that victim, just like that teenage girl. So you got to talk to both of them, but with the realization of how they may react because of how they are socialized.
Mhm.
And this is a worldwide problem that what you're doing, Nickie, is good. It's really sharing, because people been through it, are the experts, to be honest. We only can add to it or improvise some. So I think what you're doing is really positive, and the people who, but I just wanted to share that little
Thank you.
bit.
Thank you, Auntie. You know what? Wait a minute, Lisa. Hold on, baby.
Okay.
I want to capitalize. I want to piggyback on Auntie's statement. Auntie, you hit the nail on the head, because the one thing we have to remember is in sexual abuse, young men are sexually abused. They are raped. They are sex trafficked, just like young women are. And they are taught double standards. Like, you don't talk about it. Yes, you do.
Yes.
Yes, you do. You talk about it. Rape is rape. Sex trafficking is sex trafficking.
Right.
Recently, I went to a store, and I don't want to call their name out for the store because I'm not promoting them and advertising for them. Okay. But I went to a store, a retail store, and a young man in the store working as a salesman wanted to give me the products that I had pay, I was willing to pay, that I had to pay for to get out of the store if I gave him the money himself. And here's the kicker. And if I wanted him to have sex with me, he was willing to do it. Now, this is a kid. This boy had to be between 17 and 19. I'm old enough to be his great grandmother. I said, no, baby. But my heart leaped in my chest that he felt that he was not worthy of anything else because somebody's already been doing that to that kid. Passing him along, making him have sex with men, possibly. I don't have facts, but the way he approached me tells me this baby has been sex trafficked. And he's from another country. And so he's felt that it was necessary for him to survive. First place, to steal those folks' products if I give him the money.
Wow.
Second place, I'll sell me to you if you want me to. My heart hurt for that baby. And I said, no, thank you. I said, my name is Nickie Smith. If you want to talk to me sometimes, you can. And I gave him that. And I gave him my email address rather than to give him my phone number because I didn't want to have him calling me, trying to call me in something like that. And I didn't know what he would say or what he would do. You see? But that's a horrible story. And I'm gonna be honest with you, little boys are being raped more than you know. Recently, I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but I saw it recently on the news. A young man trying to come home from school went to unlock the gate that he lives in, and somebody came up from behind him and started groping him, pushed him up against the fence, pushed his body, pressed his body on the young man's body, and started groping him. It was a camera there that was filming it. The young man was a teenager. He turned around. He started fighting this perpetrator off. And finally, he got the key open. He ran in. The perpetrator ran out. The young man ran in a different direction. The perpetrator came back and tried to catch the kid. But the good thing is, he didn't see the kid, which direction he went. Then he beelined out of there. That is a punk. That is a coward. Yes, young men need to be able to talk about it. Please, young men, please. I don't care how embarrassing it is. Talk to your family. Talk to your father. Talk to your mom. Talk to your auntie. Talk to your grandparents. And you don't get satisfaction there, then talk to somebody else. Don't let it be, well, you some macho act that you a boy, that you too tough, that you gotta be tough. No, you don't have to be. No, you don't. You gotta be, you need to understand that you didn't deserve that. The same rules that apply to women should apply to men when it comes to sexual abuse.
It's a human reason.
Absolutely.
It's a human reason.
I want to just add to that, that I think is very important in all these conversations that we have with our children, boys and girls. We want to talk about, we want to address how our bodies change. Our bodies are maturing bodies, and how to deal with unwanted attention. And we want to teach our kids that age is not just a number. If I had a nickel for every man that said to me, age is just a number when I was 12 years old and fully developed, I'd have a whole lot more money right now. Age is not just a number,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
It's important for
Yes.
kids to understand that, that you are a little bit more endowed, uh, and it's not appropriate for an old lady to be talking to a young man.
Right.
It's not appropriate for an old man to be trying to hit upon a young lady. And then once you tell them, this has happened to me, I can't tell you how many times. Um, once you tell them that, you know, hey, I'm 11, I'm 12, I'm 13, and then they come back and tell you what age, it's just a number, baby. No, it's not. This is a child you're dealing with. So, you know, those are conversations we got to keep having. Okay. So,
Well, you know, also you have situations where it's not the child predator, it's just bad human relations. Risa was working at a store, the guy was hitting on her, and she went and told him that she was married. Uh, it didn't matter to him. Basically, wasn't the answer, what I don't know won't hurt me?
yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Except she just pointed at me about 8 feet away and said, well, that was my husband. And
Mhm.
he got stepping.
Yeah, he was, well,
Uh,
well, I'll check you
but that
later.
is okay. But you see, it's those type of actions, period, that are wrong. And they're interactions between people that is totally disrespecting what the person is telling you.
Mhm.
Risa had told him no in a nice way just by saying, I'm married.
Mhm.
They decided to go ahead and try and overwrite it with a little comment trying to get through until she went and had to raise it up another level.
Mhm.
You know, those are just as Wallace is doing with his child, that communication is to raise him to be a man.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, it's like I have two wonderful children that are no longer children, right? Basically, they're young adults.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of them.
They're my children too, by the way, everybody.
Hey, who's talking this story, claiming right now? Okay, now back to what I was saying. My wonderful children that, luckily I had a great partner in raising. Uh, I am extremely proud of them, and I'm proud of the fact that they respect others
Mhm.
Mhm.
because it is a word that is just not used enough in this world. It's a word that people have a tendency to disregard is respect.
Mhm.
They go and say,
Absolutely.
well, you're being too sensitive. No, no. Respecting somebody else's emotions and feelings and how they're being treated, that is should be our goal. And you
Absolutely.
should have the integrity to do it regardless.
Right.
And that just makes for a better human being, a better society. And it's what's sorely lacking right now. And I think, like you said, that whole thing of getting that message, I'm a firm believer that it comes from the house and it has to bloom out from there and it has to have many connecting points. So you start in the home,
Right.
but you have to have it in the school. You have to have it in
Right.
your religious institutions. You
Absolutely.
have to have it in your government. You have to have it
Right.
in your courts. Any place
Right.
where you have a representation of authority, you have to have it.
Right.
And we have to attack
Mhm.
all fronts at the same time. So whenever you
Mhm.
get a chance to make that step in the right direction for somebody else and for yourself, you got to do it. It's
That's
like
right. That's right.
that pebble that gets dropped into the water, the still water, and it just radiates out. You never know when you have that conversation or when you do the right thing for the person at that moment that it affects others along the way.
Mhm.
You
That's
gotta
right.
go ahead and just bear the responsibility as a human being to try to be the best human being to help others to be the best human being. And I
There
back
you go.
off my soapbox.
There you go. There you go, soap opera man. I love it. Hey, you know what? Always fight for something. Sometimes you're fighting for yourself. Sometimes you're fighting for your neighbor. Sometimes you're fighting for your mom. Sometimes you're fighting for your dad. And sometimes you're fighting for love. Sometimes you're fighting for respect. Fight back. You don't have to physically bump, 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 bump. No. But you got to start right here. Learn to think. That's the best weapon you can use. That's why they call chess the game of war. Game of war. Because life is sometimes war. But you don't want to walk around all mad and unhappy and just accepting anything. That's not the way to live. Life is to be lived, baby, and enjoy. So that's what we're here for. That's the purpose of us being here. You know, is to live your life fully, not in fear. Not in fear, well, I might get a whipping if I tell what happened in this house. I've been raped and I don't know what to say. I've been sex trafficked. I don't know what to do. Tell somebody. And don't stop telling. Well, you guys have been wonderful. This is the Nickie V. Smith Show. I want to take a minute and say thank you to all of my guests. We are about to run out of time. We have maybe 5 minutes left. Anybody want to say anything? If before Auntie's hand is up, before we go, let Auntie speak. Auntie, Sandra Johnson, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to wrap up just for a second to remind parents, teachers, whomever it is, to not just depend on children to tell us, but some kids may not talk as well, they may be too young, but we need to watch for behavior signs, emotions, getting in trouble in school, not sleeping, reverting back to say infancy and wetting the bed, but we need to watch extreme behaviors such as getting in more fights or having school problems. Maybe they don't want to go to that person's house. Maybe they don't want you to touch them, or maybe they are clingy. So I'll stop right there, but I just wanted to make the reminder that let's not just depend on them. We don't want to put so much burden on the kids and then they feel guilty when they are not successful. They are never at fault and we always there, but we must help watch where they're going and watch them physically, behavioral, and emotionally.
Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree because I wet the bed. I started wetting the bed at the age of 5. I started wetting the bed because I had a vision of something evil that was going to happen in my house. And unfortunately, it did come true. And I started wetting the bed, and I probably wet the bed up to maybe 15 years old. That's a lot.
There may be
long time.
It may be physical signs of like you said, a baby. People forget. That's a very true story. And that's not the first time I've heard it. That there may be physical signs of redness around the vaginal area, around the rectum or whatever. There may be physical signs that you want to look for and watch out for, soreness and,
blood.
Just want
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And for more crying, even there, now a lot of crying could be that they're sick, but still be mindful that they can't protect themselves. And we are there for them. We have to be. I always will, and I'll stand on this rock forever. If you got good parents, man, you got your weight in gold, because I've never had them on either side. And that's unfortunate.
That's the first
That's
healing.
unfortunate. That's it. That's the first healing. The first healing is to what? Make the decision.
Right.
Make the decision to face your truth. Buy the book, folks. Buy the book. Because if you buy the book, you have 5 different steps in the book that I use that worked for me and that I use in teaching. I've been doing this 44 years. I had no idea I had been doing it that long till I decided to count it up. I started at 25 and I'm 69. Buy that book, and that will help get you on track. And join our community. We are Nickie V. Smith on YouTube, Nickie Smith on Facebook. Okay. We love to answer your questions. We love to talk to you. And we want to say thank you to the guest. And we want to say thank you to God. I say thank you to God. I don't know what you believe, and I'm not here to preach. You may believe in Buddha. You may believe in Allah. You may believe in Hare Krishna. I believe in God myself. And I believe in it through the name of Jesus. Now, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but you believe whatever you want to, and you happy do it because you deserve to be happy and you deserve to face your predator. Stop them. Let's stop. This is the Nickie V. Smith Show, and this is our first annual event of self-healing from sexual abuse for survivors who are bored and tired of just surviving. They want to thrive. They want to thrust. Okay? So good night, and let's throw each other a kiss. Everybody, let's give each other a kiss. How about that? Thank you. Good night.